World Mobile is officially onboarding Charles Hoskinson as a World Mobile partner, hosting infrastructure in Gillette, Wyoming. The team is also investigating using drones for semi permanent infrastructure, and there's also a lot of other updates when it comes to Scan for Points. As a part of today's video, I want to break down the latest World Mobile community space. What's up, Ada Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. I'm your host here, Fareed. Brief update for you guys surrounding the World Mobile project. Just getting off of an hour-long call with Mickey Watkins and the rest of this team aiming to connect the unconnected. If you're not aware, once per month, the team has what they call their community spaces, where they come together, give the community updates as to what they've been building, what they've been developing. But in addition, they also take questions from the community. Now, I'm going to just quickly recap some of the biggest pieces here, but there's just been so much going on, a lot of excitement surrounding this project. And the more I hang around with this team, the more I realize how big of a vision they truly have. So before I move in any further, if you do enjoy content like this, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by Dapp Central and you want more surrounding the biggest builders here in Cardano, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions, then leave a comment down below. I want to kick this off by stating probably the biggest piece here, the fact that World Mobile will now be partnering up with Charles Hoskinson in Gillette, Wyoming, in order to get infrastructure up and running in that particular area. This is their second partner, which has been publicly announced. The first being Mav100, which has had a pretty big stake in deploying air nodes within the Washington area. And it's really interesting to see that a figure as big as Charles really behind the mission here and doing what he can to lend a hand. So I want to quickly play this clip. It's about 30 seconds long, but after this, we'll jump into some of the other highlights, touching on Operation Airnode, touching on the use of drones for infrastructure, for World Mobile, as well as Scan for Points, some badges and some alpha that was just released around that, and a couple of other highlights. So without any further ado, let's play the first bit here, recapping Charles Hoskinson and World Mobile partnering up.
There is definitely something happening in Gillette. So Charles Hoskinson will become a partner in Gillette, and he will roll out with World Mobile support, just like Mav have World Mobile support, a full-blown network in Gillette. So that's been planned. Magnus, Charles Barnett, James have all been involved in the early talks, and now it's about taking a plan and executing it. So you can expect that to come live on Operation Airnode at some point.
So you just heard Mickey, the man himself there, stating that they'll be deploying infrastructure with Charles Hoskinson in Gillette in order to get a network up and running in that particular area. In terms of the expansion in the US, it's finally growing. They started off with Reno. Again, we have Washington with Mav100, and there's been talks about California, as well as New Mexico. These are all states where the World Mobile team already has licensed spectrum available for them to go ahead and use with their air node infrastructure. In addition, Mickey did mention the fact that the air nodes that were sold for Operation Airnode Batch 1 for Reno are now being deployed. So it should just be a couple of days, if not weeks, until we see those available on WMT Scan. I want to quickly run through some of the pictures here showing the World Mobile team all in Reno right now. I mean, number one, look at how huge this particular warehouse is. If you can't necessarily see it, I'll just go ahead and quickly describe, but there are a couple of Sprinter vans right there in the back end. You would assume that this is, to haul all of the infrastructure out wherever they need to deploy it and go ahead and actually do that. So really cool to see, number one, all of these potential air nodes in these boxes. Number two, the team coming together. And then number three, how big of an operation this is in just one particular location. Next, we've got some pictures here of the actual air nodes up and running in Reno. Also got some of the team members here. Again, the team all sort of huddled around the computer, not sure what they're looking at there. And then, of course, here we've got Scan for Points. Again, a quick plug for the weekly calls, or the monthly calls, I should say. Make sure to tune into these. I'll leave the link to this particular recording down below. It's about an hour and a half. The team does sort of guide the conversation during the first hour. And then for the last 30 or so minutes, they take questions from the community. So, highlighting some of the biggest pieces that have come out of this particular call, I already highlighted their partnership with Charles Hoskinson. But next, they spoke a little bit about Scan for Points. So, this has been highly anticipated. I know I've definitely been waiting for this for quite a bit of time, but it's a way for you as a member or a holder of the World Mobile token to scan your local area, provide that data over to World Mobile, and you'll, in exchange, you receive either tokens that you can spend with third parties, or you'll also be receiving the WMT or World Mobile token. Now, this is still in the very early stages. It's still in beta, only available for Android, but they have said that they are now getting closer to releasing this for iOS. So I own a Apple iPhone. I've been waiting forever to finally get access to this, and I'll definitely have some catching up to do in terms of the leaderboards, but it's good to see that the team has finally gotten that much closer to releasing the app for iOS. So it's currently, as it stands, undergoing testing. Now, in addition, we've got the first ever look of badges during this call for Scan for Points. So you can imagine that with Scan for Points, they'll have different initiatives, different missions or quests, however you want to state that. And that will allow for you to gain ranking, but then also have a way to display that rank, which will be done through something like this, which again are the badges that they've sort of proposed for Scan for Points. So really interesting to see that here listed as well. Now, the next piece I want to quickly touch on is their DevNet. So they recently announced that they would be switching from using the Cosmos SDK to a different type of software for the deployment of the Aya blockchain. And that sort of created a stir. Now the team has figured out whatever tech stack that it is that they want to use, and they're now testing that on the DevNet or in a development environment. Next, we'll see them spinning up a test environment, onboarding EarthNode operators, and then after that, we should have the green light to launch the Aya network, which is basically the backbone run by EarthNode operators going live on the mainnet. Now, we heard from Antonio Hernandez, their chief technical officer, and he mentioned the fact that they're going to be focusing on EVM compatibility. Now, what that means is that they'll be collaborating with the BNB network or the Binance Smart Chain, the Optimism network, Arbitrum, Cardano, Ethereum, Near, and Base, just to name a few. Now, I can imagine that they're going to expand those partnerships as they grow, but just taking a look at, those particular chains alone brings in billions in terms of TVL, market share, and then hundreds of thousands of potential users in exposure to the World Mobile Network. Following that, Mickey did talk a little bit about some of the aerostats. They've mentioned and they've already teased, right, aerostats in the United States. We already have an aerostat launched in Mozambique that was done close to about, I would say, maybe 8-9 months ago now. And Mickey now has mentioned the fact that they are looking in the Middle East, right? But in addition, they'll be testing and rolling out infrastructure using drones. So right now, an aerostat requires a lot of helium. That's extremely expensive, but you can imagine a drone is able to be recharged. Now, granted, it can't stay in the air as long as an aerostat would. It runs off a battery. So that is a particular drawdown or a particular downside. But he did mention that this would be semi-permanent infrastructure. So imagine, for example, for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, where there's a need for an air node or some sort of payload to be held in the air for World Mobile, they could actually use a drone as an alternative, as opposed to trying to get a multi-million-dollar aerostat up in the air. So a lot more flexible, right? Maybe not as permanent or as durable or as long lasting, but really interesting to see that the team is focusing on using new tech such as drones. In addition, he talked a little bit about stratospheric airships, which I think could basically go up even higher than an aerostat and could also hold payloads much bigger than they can currently hold. Following that, he did talk a little bit about the Unity nodes, which will be nodes that will be able to be run in conjunction with the Minutes network. And so that's going to be another opportunity, right, to number one, grow the relationship between World Mobile and the Minutes network, while also providing an additional bit of utility for EarthNode operators. So there's going to be an AMA soon with Mickey's brother, Josh, who's the founder and head of Minutes Network, to talk a little bit more about the Unity node, how they plan on growing their relationship between their protocol and World Mobile, and sort of the benefits that it offers to the Cardano and World Mobile community. Following that, Mickey also highlighted some AirNode NFTs. Right now we have NFTs, 1,000 of them to be specific, for Earth nodes, and there's going to be a very similar AirNode NFT. Now, he didn't break down a lot of the details yet, but they will be incorporating that and providing more details about that in the upcoming future. Last but not least, the team mentioned that they will be rebranding the ecosystem and just doing a little bit more when it comes to engagement for ambassadors, engagement for the community, providing different engagement activities. And I assume that those will be rewarded with either third-party partner points or potentially even the WMT token. But stay tuned for that rebrand as the team continues to grow. That will do it here for today's video, breaking down some of the biggest pieces of news here following the latest community space. Again, make sure to go ahead and check out the Twitter space down below. The recording should be available for at least the next 30 days. So make sure to go ahead and do that. And hopefully you guys do find that to be of benefit. But I wanted to take the time here to break down some of the latest highlights, given how important, how big these were. So hopefully you guys found these to be useful. If you did, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by and you want more content like this surrounding World Mobile and Cardano, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions, then leave them down below.